Welcome to Cross the Line, Oxford's premier podcast.
We're here with head coach of the Oxford Chargers, Chris Cutlcliffe.
And Coach, how do you help a team look past last week and move on to South Panola?
Well, really throughout the year, but definitely at the beginning of the year, our focus is just on getting better every chance we get to take the field. And so, obviously, not the result we wanted last week, but when you play in tough environments against good football teams, you grow and you learn, some areas that we need to improve, and you go to work on improving them. And that's what really any time of the year is about, but definitely the beginning of the season is about constant improvement.
So South Panola's team is returning their starting quarterback in David Hubbard. Last year, Hubbard threw for 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. He also has the ability to break outside the pocket and make some plays with his legs. So when you're looking to defend a dual-threat quarterback like Hubbard, how do you game plan for something like that?
Yeah, Hubbard is a fantastic player, and you're right. He's a returning starter, so we saw him a year ago in the playoffs. And I think really what it comes down to is alignment and assignment, which sounds very simple in football, but being lined up properly and knowing what your responsibility is on defense is crucial. And you obviously always have to have a player accounting for quarterback run. When that's a part of his game, which it is. So we just have to really be on top of our assignments, and when we have an opportunity to tackle him in space, we have to tackle well.
And this week is the home opener for the Chargers, and how important is it to set the tone for Friday night?
Well, I think playing at home, obviously is a lot of fun, and we have a great student section and a great crowd. I know there will be a big crowd with South Panola coming to town. There'll be a lot of people excited about that game. So, you obviously want to play well early anytime, but I think especially at home in front of the home crowd, you definitely want to start fast and get things cranked up.
So last week we saw once again just how explosive Roman Gregory can be. He had 19 carries, 100 yards rushing, 4 catches and 39 yards receiving, and he had 2 touchdowns, the only 2 touchdowns we scored. And how important is it to have a guy that you can count on week in and week out that's explosive and good as Roman Gregory?
Yeah, Roman, I think what you said, week in, week out, he's a consistent football player, and he has a lot of ability, no doubt, but he's very consistent in what he does. He's consistent on the practice field. He's consistent on Friday nights. And so he's been able to maintain a high level of play really for 3 years because of that. And so, that consistency I think is huge. And it's something that you strive for as a football team, is to be a team that can be consistent, regardless of who the opponent is, regardless of factors that you can't control, you play at the same level. And Roman does an awesome job of doing that.
And Coach, the Chargers suffered a couple injuries on Friday night, and do we know if they'll be ready by game time, or are they still, rehabbing and working for the next game?
Yeah, we don't have anybody right now that's out for Friday night, so we should be in good shape.
So the last meeting between the Chargers and the Tigers was in round 1 of the playoffs last year. The Chargers went on to win a thriller 35-28, won on one of the last drives of the game. And South Panola had a very good day offensively. They had 450 total yards. The Chargers did come up on top, but losing a few guys to graduation, obviously, for South Panola. But knowing what they are capable of on the offensive side of the ball, how do you prepare for them defensively?
Well, they did last year, particularly in the second half, moved the ball pretty well against us, and were able to do it. They have some tall receivers, that give you some issues as far as matching up with those guys can go sometimes. And they have 2 really talented running backs. And so they're a balanced offense, which is more of a challenge to defend. There's no doubt about it. You can't focus just on one aspect of their game. So we have to be, again, just, it sounds basic, but we have to line up properly, know our assignments, and tackle well. And the biggest thing that we've got to do defensively is improve in the number of explosive plays we allow. So, that's always a focus, but it was definitely a major issue in the Brandon game a week ago. So we have to limit South Panola from creating those explosive plays.
And Coach, since South Panola did not play a game last week, footage-wise, do you look back to that playoff game, to help you prepare?
Well, they have a new head coach and new coordinators on both sides of the ball. So from a scheme standpoint, they will definitely be different than they were a year ago. But we do have access to their fall jamboree and their spring game. We were able to trade film with them. So we do have video from this year to see with new staff and new players and that sort of thing. But it is a little bit unusual when they don't have a game. So, it's a unique circumstance for sure.
Okay. Is there any new guys that we could see Friday night that we haven't seen so far?
Nobody. I mean, I don't think so. I think you'll see. We rotate a lot of players, especially at certain positions, and we're still settling in and still have guys competing for playing time. I don't know that you'll necessarily see a lot of new faces on the field, but there's definitely guys that are competing for playing time, and so that'll continue to take place really all season, but again, definitely early in the season.
And Coach, what improvements do you hope to see from last week to this week?
Well, what we've focused a lot on, we had, offensively, we had 12 negative yardage plays and 7 offensive penalties in the game. And so moved the ball fairly well, but 19 negative plays that killed drives and caused drives not to finish with points. Defensively, we 68 plays in the game. We allowed, for 50 snaps, we allowed 89 yards. The remaining 18 snaps, we allowed 430 yards. And so, again, it's eliminating explosive plays. And 2 turnovers in special teams is something that I would say, is a little bit of a fluke in some circumstance, but not something that's typical for us, and definitely something we need to address there.
So last week we saw Mac Howard go down. Looked like he was holding his left shoulder. Do you think he's 100%? Is he feeling good?
Yeah, Mac is good to go. He's had a great week of practice. No issues.
And then one question about practice. So last week, obviously, didn't go our way. At practice, do you think that they kind of use it as motivation, or they kind of flush it and just kind of move on?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both, and maybe everybody's a little bit different, but, a lot of times the best way to get over a loss in a sport is to go right back to work, right, and get back on the field and start working on the things you need to improve. And so I think a lot of guys definitely take that mindset of, hey, let's get back on the field and go to work and kind of put this thing behind us and move forward.
So in 2019, when the Chargers went on to win the state championship, we had a game very similar to the Brandon one in the Starkville game, where we kind of just, things didn't go our way on the road at Starkville, and then we went on to not lose another game and win the state championship. So when you look at a game like that, knowing that you still have a whole season ahead, does that kind of help you to keep everybody's heads up? Do you mention that?
We have actually talked about that game, and I think the takeaway from, again, is when you play a good football team, a great football team, like Starkville in 2019, like Brandon this year, early in the season, you learn a lot about yourself. You get better. Regardless of what happens on the scoreboard, we improve as a team by playing in a game like that. And so when you take that mindset, first of all, you don't panic when something doesn't go your way, because you have confidence in who we are and what we've been doing. But you're also courageous enough and bold enough to face things that need to be addressed and correct the things that need to be addressed. And so, I do think there's a lot of parallels in those two games, no question about it. And, I know that our 2019 team responded extremely well to that early season setback. So, hoping to see the same response this year.
And Coach, we want to thank you for letting us have you on, and best of luck Friday night.
Thank you.
This podcast is sponsored by Neilson's. Neilson's, where trends meet tradition.
Welcome back to the Cross the Line podcast. I'm here with offensive lineman Henry Green and outside linebacker Martavious Blackmon. And thank y'all for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And Henry, I know last year ended in sort of like an injury for you, and so how has that, sort of rehab process been for you?
It's been long. It's been tough. Definitely a lot of challenges, but I'm just very happy to be back and very happy to play.
The Chargers have South Panola this week for their first home game. Let's talk about the offense for South Panola. Martavious. So South Panola is returning a starting quarterback in Davis Hubbard, very dual threat guy. He's very explosive with his legs. He can throw the ball too. What's it going to take to slow him down?
Well, I think we will have to mix a lot of blitzes to keep everything contained inside, and just let our inside backers just handle that, all the inside runs.
And last week obviously was not the outcome we expected or wanted. And so has the tone in practice been a little different this week than last week?
Yeah, the tone's definitely picked up. We needed that kind of hit in the mouth to know what we're really about, and the team needs adversity to come back from a tough loss like that to compete in a region this hard.
Henry, let's talk about the offense. So we got a new offensive line, sort of, some new guys. You're a leader in that group. You've been playing with them for a long time, I'm sure. How's the leadership role been in that room, and do you feel like you've kind of led these guys in a good way?
Yeah, so we're just striving to get faster and quicker because, we're not all real big guys. We're probably all under 220, 230, but our, most positive, impact we have, I guess, is our feet and our speed. So every time we get up to the ball, we'll just go as fast as we can. Myself and my other guard, Nelson Barr, he's a junior, and Jamel Johnson, we're all a part of the OLG, so that's the offensive lineman leadership group. And so we've kind of taken ownership of the group and led them. We have a bunch of young players that we need to help coach to get right. So our starting center and tackle are both sophomores, and they just they don't know a whole lot now just because they're sophomores, and they don't have as much experience. But we are definitely coaching them up and are happy that they are playing.
Martavious, let's talk about the linebacker room. Very deep group. Y'all got a lot of depth there. You're a senior in that group. You've been playing, I know, for the past 2 years on the varsity level. Have you felt that you've kind of had a leadership role, and how do you feel that group's been so far?
Well, so far I feel like we've had a big jump because of last year. We had more seniors than anything in the secondary and linebackers. And I feel like Alex, Ty K, all the inside backers, they've stepped up a lot. Through 7-on-7 and these past few games, they've really showed me that they're willing to give it all they got, and they want to show the world that we can do this. We can go state. We really could beat anybody in the region. We just have to have complete teamwork, effort, everything.
And since y'all are seniors, y'all have improved a lot since y'all's freshman year. What areas have y'all seen most improvement in?
Well, definitely my size. I've probably gained, 30 pounds since I was a freshman. That's definitely helped. And definitely my technique and feet.
Yeah, I'd also say footwork because in a lot of these games, I'm guarding slot receivers. They're the shiftiest people on the field. You have to have really good footwork to keep up with these guys. They run 4.4, 4.5. I'm not running that much right now, but you still got to keep up with those guys.
So last week, Brandon rushed for over almost 300 yards with 280 yards. Really had a great game on running the football. A lot of guys ran the football. Looking back on that, watching film on that, what do you take from it? What do you learn from a game like that where you struggled to stop the run game?
I feel like as a whole, as a group, as linebackers and any defensive player even, we should learn to contain, keep everything smushed inside, because they did a lot of end-around wrap type things, a lot of QB rollout. We should just keep everything contained, keep wide receivers from going vertical, keep them flat, and I feel like we should have great success this upcoming week.
So South Panola did not play last week. So when you think about them not playing last week, do you think of that as more of an advantage or a disadvantage for you guys and for them?
I feel like it's an advantage for us just because we kind of had this streak where we haven't lost at home. Since last year, we haven't lost at home. And since they're not playing, they're really, they don't have a high motor right now. And we're kind of off that L, we're, looking for vengeance in a way.
I'm going to say it's a partial disadvantage just because we don't have the game footage that they have on us. So we don't really truly know what they're running. But it is an advantage that we're coming off a loss because the whole team's fired up to play at home.
So when you look at that team last year, obviously losing some guys to graduation, do you kind of think of the same team, or is it sort of a new look? Do you guys know?
It's sort of a new look because, you expect that to be the upfront man, the people that already graduated, but it's on related to you now. You have to step up and be that leader that everybody's looking forward to, and just make the best out of everything.
So what have y'all seen from y'all as captains, Mac Howard and Roman Grover being for offense, and then Malachi Piggies, Alex Sanford, and Ryan Kirkwood being for defense? How have y'all seen them really step up and really fulfill that captain role?
You definitely know that those guys are leaders on the field just because how they play, but off the field you don't see this, but they take insane leadership of the team. Matt Coward came in, he transferred from Heritage, and immediately he took leadership of the offense, and Roman's been doing it since middle school. And defensive guys, Malachi, Kirkwood, and Alex, I mean, they're just 3 dogs, and everyone knows that, and everyone looks up to them. So that's how I think.
Yeah, I can't speak a lot from the offensive side, but on the defensive side, I've been playing with these guys since buck ball, and they've always been like on top of everything. They've been leaders without like having to be asked or coached into this. It's their literal role.
So coming off a loss last week, obviously wasn't a good one, a blowout loss to Brandon. Do you take that as sort of motivation, or do you kind of flush it and just kind of move on?
At this point in the season, it was only first game. I feel like you keep this target on your back, but you just got to move past it because you win some, you lose some, but you got to keep fighting.
Honestly, for us, I think we just flush it. I mean, we don't need to worry about them till playoffs. I mean, it doesn't matter what happened last week. It's a new week. You can't be in the past. You got to think about the next week. So that's what I think.
Is there any game on the schedule that you're just really looking forward to and you just really can't wait to play?
For me, it's a Tupelo game because it's kind of my revenge game to when I got hurt. So I'm really looking forward to that, and definitely Lafayette just because they're our rival.
Probably the most I'm looking forward to has got to be Lafayette because I feel like we really could have won that game last year. And I don't think we played our best, but we're coming for revenge.
All right, thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
So right now, if you had to pick one restaurant in Oxford to eat lunch at, where would you go?
I'd probably say probably Lost Pizza. I'm a big pizza guy. I like pizza a lot.
Probably Southern Coop. Wings, you can never go wrong there. And that's always been kind of like a place that all the Oxford football players go, so you can't really go wrong there.
So this is a very debatable one we asked last week. What's y'all's favorite and least favorite uniform combo?
Personally, I like blue, black, because I just love the blue helmet, and the blue jerseys look good.
What about least favorite?
Least favorite, definitely white, black. I don't know. I just don't really like the black jerseys. They're just huge, so I don't know.
One of my favorite combos got to be blue, white, gold. I feel like that's a really good combo. Least favorite got to be white.
Thank you for tuning in to Cross the Line. Listen in next week for our next episode.